Hey, this is Dave from MetalEpidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up guys, Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Norwegian Rockers KAL-EL. The band's new album, Dark Majesty, will be released on August 27th via Majestic Mountain Records. So, I hadn't heard of KAL-EL before, but when I shared one of the singles with you guys, Kyle had heard of the band. Kyle, how was this?
Yeah.
How do you know? How did you know and I didn't know?
I mean, they're from Norway. I'm
True.
in that country.
True.
I know their bassist. So it's kind of hard for me to not know about them. I'm a huge fan of this band. I love them.
Plot
Well,
thickens.
up until this record, but we'll find out about that later.
Oh, see how he did. I was about to say he's giving away everything, and then right at the end he just drawed it back.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, well done, Kyle. Keep them waiting around to the end to find out the scores.
Nice one. KAL-EL is, for those that don't know, is
Father of
Superman's
Superman. Yep.
Kryptonian name.
Oh no, it's his. That's right. His dad's. It's his Kryptonian name. What's his dad's name again then?
Jor-El? No.
No, it's Jor-El. That's right.
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. What batteries did he use on Krypton? Duracell. That's right. Product placement. Duracell batteries last longer than any battery. Please buy Duracell batteries online. Remember and use the code METAL at checkout. I don't think we get anything back from that. We may as well start doing that though when we eventually get bought over by some large corporation and have to be shells selling products that we don't use.
I use Duracell at least once every 6 months because that's how long they last.
See, there we go. I stopped using Duracell as soon as I found out that my male prostate massager could be plugged into the wall. I use mains electricity for that, so
Excellent.
saving the environment. If I can get it from hydroelectric power as well, then nature's fucking me. So
69% harder.
it's a link to another review.
So, KAL-EL, gents.
That segue was masterful.
Yeah. They look like they've been active for a while. So I'm quite surprised. I've never heard of them before.
You can't hear of every band, Dave. Don't beat yourself up. You can't hear every band.
I know, but this is like the second review site I've done in the last 10 years. And the first one went for 5 years. And these guys were pretty active throughout those 5 years. So I'm surprised that the name didn't even come up at that point. But, you know.
Norway's best kept secret.
That's what I was going to say, yep. Norway. So the releases go back to 2013. With this one is their 5th full-length album. And from what I could see online, they have had some changes to the band back in 2020. But after listening, I had a wee listen to their 2019 release, Witches of Mars. It doesn't sound like the new additions to the lineup have changed like the kind of core sound of the band in any way. This is still very much a kind of KAL-EL sounding album. And their sound to me is probably what I would class as a kind of stoner doom. But like when I say that, this has weight. This definitely has weight behind it. The first thing that kind of hit me with this was the sound of this. It sounds huge. Very much kind of put me in mind of bands like Torche or Floor, who both possess a kind of that sound that could just level a building. And KAL-EL have managed to capture that kind of deep, like thick wall of sound on Dark Majesty. Every kind of part of the production sounds mountainous. The guitars are fuzzy, but they're not too like muddy. The bass sounds, I love the bass sound. The bass sounds unreal in this. Really deep, really kind of gritty sounding, and really well placed in the mix as well. And then the kind of drums kind of just give the whole thing a really kind of solid backbone. The album was recorded in Studio Valhalla and then produced by the band, then mixed and mastered by a guy called Ruben Willem. And like props need to be given because I think like this is a really well produced album, very organic sounding, and just has that natural kind of heaviness to it. Doesn't sound like it's been produced within an inch of its life. Instruments sound really well balanced, and although it's like colossally heavy, it felt like the instruments had plenty of kind of room to breathe on it, if that makes sense. Musically, it has a lot of the kind of mandatory doomy kind of traits. The tracks are quite lengthy. Most of them are over the 7-minute mark. I think the opener is like about 11 and a half minutes or something like that. So, like a lot of doom albums, it does take you on a bit of a journey. With the band, they really take you through a kind of range of different sounds and textures on Dark Majesty, from the kind of like those kind of lethargic, kind of dense riffs on Temple or the title track, to the more kind of upbeat, almost kind of like stonery. I imagine a kind of like almost kind of like a Fu-Manchu type riffs on like the likes of Spiral. Or even adding in more kind of atmospheric or psychedelic elements on tracks like Kalamisha or Vimana. But even when they are like pummeling you with that kind of big riff or like a fuzz-laden groove, there's always some sort of kind of like background layer to it that on first listen I never really picked up on. But on repeat listens, I started to notice all these kind of little bits of kind of lead work in the solos, or a really nice kind of like harmony between the guitars. And even though it's quite a lengthy album, we're talking just over the hour mark, an hour and 7 or something like that. I didn't feel like it was a chore. Firstly, because of it has that kind of variety of different styles, different tempos. It has a nice range of dynamics on it as well. But I think also because of the vocals. Vocally, it's not a heavy album, as like doomy and kind of fuzzed out as the music can be at times. The vocals don't like magnify the heaviness. They more add a kind of layer of almost like a layer of light to the whole thing. Tonally very in line with Steve Brooks of Torche and Floor, but there's a little bit of, every now and again I'd get a little hint of Ozzy on there as well. On occasion, just a little tone about, oh, that's very Ozzy Osbourne. But the vocalist very much sticks to his strengths. He doesn't hugely kind of deviate from that style, but he's very good at what he does, and it fits perfectly with their style. This, again, an album that kind of, I mentioned this on one of the other reviews we did tonight, this kind of grew on me more with each listen. I found it quite a rewarding listen, especially the melodies, and I love the production. Musically, I wouldn't say they're really like pushing any massive boundaries. They know how they want to sound, and you can hear that right through their back catalogue. But each time they release something, they tend to level up. Their sound becomes that a little bit more polished. The songwriting gets a little bit more refined, and they sound more and more like a band that could compete with the kind of bigger names of the stoner and doom scene. I think listening to the kind of the previous albums, I think this is definitely the best thing they've done so far. I really enjoyed this. Really good album. Duncan, what did you make of this one?
There's a lot to like in this, and then there's some things that I didn't like. We'll circle to the stuff that I thought worked really well on the album, and then we'll touch on. And I don't have like any huge complaints, but there are a couple of things that kind of stood out to me. I'll start with the production because I think it's the best place to start on this. The production on this is great. It's not only exactly what you want a band like this to sound like, but every instrument has its own personality on the recording, which I really enjoyed, specifically from those more kind of cosmic proggy elements. Well, I say proggy elements, you know what I mean? Those more kind of cosmic, spacey elements that come at the music. There's personality in everything. The guitars at times are absolutely hellishly crushing, but another bit's just really fuzzy and open. The drum work's really good. Vocally, I really like the vocals. Those kind of Ozzy-esque elements you're talking about are very similar to kind of later day Mastodon have went down that road. Troy Sanders has a particular tone that he hits when he's not doing the heavier stuff that's kind of in line with this, this guy's got a slightly higher vocal range than Troy does. So I love those elements. I think they are a surprisingly playful band for a band that maintains a relative kind of tight grip on the pacing of their tracks. Like, at no point here was there any massive deviation. I was like, oh, right, that came out of left field. It has a methodical, very kind of tempered piece structure that follows through. And, I mean, for the most part, that really works for me. I think their songwriting is, once again, one of those high-level things that when you come back and listen to it, something like Dark Majesty, for example, which comes about the midway point, to me is a really rewarding track, because the band themselves switch up their ideas several times during the track. So it's good to follow them along on that wait for it journey, because it works really well. I'll hit on some negatives, then I'll bring it back with one positive at the end. My big negative for me on this one is length. I think there's at least 4 or 5 songs on this release that are too long. As in, I had got everything I needed to get out the track, and then there was 2 minutes after. So I'm not even just saying, like, on a 10-minute track, I'm not saying it should be like 4 minutes. I just mean that they play beyond parts where I'm like, right, I mean, that's fine if we're closing out an album or whatnot, but there was bits that just seem to go on a bit longer. It's, in some respects, it put me off repeat listens. So I listened to this twice all the way through, and when it came to the third one, I was like, I don't know if I want to listen to it all again. And as I've said many times on here, I don't like listening to 2 or 3 songs from an album. I'm an album guy. If I sit down to listen to an album, I'll listen to it all the way through. So I think there's that. I also think, and it's not something I would generally throw at a band, but I think because it has such a methodical pace throughout, I think they are missing a trick. Bringing up a bit more changes in tempo in the tracks. They do it, but it's not as if they don't do it. I just think if your track is, I mean, the opening track's almost 12 minutes long, and there's not nearly enough tempo changes for me to really appreciate that track. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like they find a groove, they really like that groove, so they stay in that groove longer than I would do if I was them. And that's a genre choice. Specifically, that genre affords bands the opportunity to do that, but also on top of that, it's just a songwriting choice. I mean, I like, as much as I love kind of stoner metal and sludge and doom and all the rest, I don't necessarily always gravitate to the bands that have massive length songs in all their albums. I tend to, 6-7 minutes is usually a bit the limit for me. So those are my negatives, right? Swinging back to the positive overall, there's loads to take. If you've never heard of these guys before, which, I mean, there's a chance you haven't, because Kyle was the only one that knew about them here, and that was through virtue of proximity and friendship, and not because of a publication or anything. There's plenty to enjoy here. Like, if you like the bands that Dave mentioned before, I would say if you like some of the more kind of fuzzier elements of bands, to an extent Mastodon, some of the kind of more playful experimental stuff from kind of mid-year Mastodon, then there's some of that in here, and they certainly sound American. Like, I was more taken back when you said, oh, these guys are a Norwegian band, because they don't sound Norwegian at all. They sound American, and they have that off part, but they don't sound American because they're trying to copy other bands. It's just that sound is there. So if you've never heard them before, there's plenty to enjoy here for sure. They give you plenty of bang for your buck, but the album is over an hour long, and some of these tracks are over 10 minutes long, and that to me is the bit that kind of drags it down. It's not that I dislike the songs, it's just that certain parts I was like, right, we should be switching it up or moving it on or doing something else. So yeah, I don't know, I'm a bit conflicted. On paper, this is a band I should love a lot more than I did, because it hits a lot of those sweet spots in my musical taste. Yeah. But I think, and it's not anything to do with the musicality or the sound or production or anything. It's purely length on this one that got a bit exhausting, is maybe too strong a word, but there's a degree of lethargy to me listening to this. So I will definitely come back to it at some point, because there are things in here I've really enjoyed. Probably won't be for a while.
Okay. And Kyle, what did you think of this band?
Hated it. Hated them for a long time. Absolutely cannot stand this band. I don't know how they made it. No, I'm kidding. I've liked them for a long time. They've got, what, 3 or 4 records out? Maybe even more than that. I can't remember. But they've been active for quite a while, and I've always enjoyed them. I think on this album, they've, like you said earlier, leveled up again. I really enjoy what they're doing now. I mean, it's not a far thrown... It's not a... How do I put this? It's not like so far away from what they started out doing, and they clearly are a band that does this, but they're really, really good at it. And I've always enjoyed what they've done. And on this one, like I said, I just think they're doing it better. They're doing it, they're just really, really good at making this kind of music, and I just enjoy it. The production is really good for who they want to be. It sounds really natural, really organic, really like a bunch of musicians in a room, or in a studio at least, having a great time. There's not too much fuckery. There's, the guitar tones are perfect. There's tons of fuzz. It's not muddy. It's nice and clear. The dude's voice just gets better and better with every album. I just can't believe it. Like, still singing like that, still bringing that, early Sabbath feel to it that I really love. Because that's because it conjures up those old days of, spooky music, man, for me. But I don't know if I agree with the comments about it being too long and stuff. I mean, I just sit back and I listen to it and I enjoy it. I don't really like... I just kind of... When it's with this band, especially music like this and a lot of doom and a lot of stoner stuff, I just sort of sit back and just let it sort of wash over me, and just let it sit. I'm not sat there watching the seconds go by or counting it. When the song ends, the song ends. I didn't feel like this had any, parts that overstayed its welcome or anything like that, and I felt like the lack of tempo changes was like, but that's who they are. So, but that's me. I really enjoyed it. I think this is one of their strongest releases yet, and the balls to come out with a 12-minute opener, usually that's a massive turn off for me, but I might be a bit biased here because I've liked them for a long time, but I'm like, let's see what you've got then, and it worked out. And they close on a really long song as well. It's like there's a 7-minute song in there, and so. But for me, it all works. It comes together and it works for me. So I'm getting really into this genre, by the way. Like this past year, more and more and more. I'm just like, just bring it on. Don't ever stop. So they've released it at a perfect moment for me. Let me tell you. Even though I liked them before, I like them even more now.
Nice. Okay, so ratings for Dark Majesty from Kal-El. As I said, I'd never heard of these guys before, but I really enjoyed this. And when I saw the runtime of over an hour, I did initially think over an hour is a bit of a hard sell at times, but it didn't really bother me. I think it is just the genre, though. Doom tends to have those kind of long tracks that go on for quite a bit. So once I settled in it, and to be honest, the production was so good that it kind of kept me in the whole time. Every time they would kick in with one of those big riffs, I'd be like, oh my god, that is just disgustingly heavy. So there was always something to kind of keep me kind of engaged throughout the whole thing, regardless of the kind of length. And I do think this is the best thing they've done so far. I did have a kind of quick listen to their back catalogue, and you can hear them getting progressively better over the releases. For me, a very strong album, and as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if down the line now we start to hear this band's name more and more. I was surprised I hadn't heard them already, but now with a release of this kind of quality, I think you'll probably start to hear more about them. I'd probably go in at a 4 out of 5 for me on this one. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Duncan?
I like the music. I think it's too long. It's difficult to verbalise the feeling on it, because it's usually me that enjoys longer songs. You listen to the bands that I listen to, they're all, they're epics, and I enjoy epic songs, but I don't think where it was washing over you guys, and those minor elements that they're bringing in to change it, to me there isn't just enough there to justify some of the lengths of some of the songs. 3.5 for me. I think it's not a bad album, and I'm sure if you're a fan of the genre, there is loads to mine out of it, and I wish I liked it as much as you guys, but I've got to be kind of true to myself, so 3.5.
Yeah, contemplated maybe just changing your batteries, maybe just giving you that extra length that you need.
It might be an issue with me not using Duracell. If you want to buy Duracell batteries, remember and use at the checkout code METAL.
Kyle?
Somebody's going to buy some plastic batteries, aren't they? Because
someone's going to be shocked when they get fuck all discount on Duracell because they're thinking the word metal.
Yeah.
They lied to me.
What? It's like, yes, we use that in our construction. Thank you very much. No, I enjoyed it a great deal. I think it's one of the strongest releases, so I'm going to go 4.5 out of 5.
Oh, nice. Dark Majesty by KAL-EL drops on August 27th on Majestic Mountain Records. If you want to check them out online, facebook.com/KAL-EL Project. I'll put a link in the description below to the band's Facebook and to the Bandcamp page and stuff, so you can check it out. Let us know what you think. If you've heard any of the singles, once you hear the album, drop them some comments below and let us know. That's the review. Thank you very much for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon, but until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.